Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, how are
Dr. Winsome
you?
Minott. It's awesome to be with you today. Really amazing. We've been trying to connect together and you've been traveling the globe, London, all over. So finally we're able to catch up and to learn more
A
about
little
you.
bit more.
Right. So the whole idea of this chat is to talk with you about your writing journey and how it has evolved, and at the end of it, what we want to do is to have some snippets for actions for new authors, and aspiring authors, those who want to write the book and don't know how to get it. So from learned persons like yourself who have gone through it, that's the real purpose of this discussion. So I'm going to jump right in and I won't be introducing you.
That's fine.
I'm not going to introduce you because by the time you're done, we'll be know everything or most things about Dr. Minott. All right. Well, our first question is, can you share, please, the evolution of your writing routine? How did you develop the discipline for your first book?
Well, thanks for the question. Thanks for inviting me here. I feel
Absolutely.
privileged to be one of your persons who you'd like to interview. Well, as you know, I am a chartered accountant as well and a corporate governance officer. So I think I was leading a double life, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
And I wrote in the night after 10, between 10 and 1. But significantly, as we're Christians together, Shelly,
Mhm.
I got on this journey after it is a pastor came to my office and he said to me, Winsome, what is your talent? And I said, my business, don't you see I'm successful of being brash? And he said, no, your business is not your talent. Go and look what it is you like to do and you do even if you're not being paid to do it. I thought, oh, that was interesting. Let me go and check out what. And I only found that I like to write, whether or not anybody paid me. I just loved the whole journey, writing. So I said,
Mhm.
okay, let me see if this pastor has, because he said, he was bringing a prophetic word, he said. So I said, let me see if there's value in this prophetic word. I was a little bit, I'm not so sure. But I said, okay, let me gather up a bit and pieces that I had at home of what I was doing. And I
Mhm.
gathered quite a bit. And then I said, but I don't know what to do with this. So I went on to put it together and I asked, I said, the only person who I could think of is my high school literature teacher, Mrs. Garcia. That's how far back I was going, way back in the high school. And I found her after searching. And she said, well, Winsome, I'm not a poet, but I'm going to send you to Professor Mervyn Morris, who is a poet at the university. So that's really the start of the journey. And Professor Morris was so kind to me at the time. And he gave me a book, Robert Frost, of
Mhm.
365 pages, if my memory is right. And he said, if you're going to be a poet, I suggest you read this book. And then
Mhm.
when you read it, come back to me and tell me that you still want to be a poet. Of course, it took me a long while. It took me over a year to read Robert Frost.
Uh-huh.
But that was the beginning of the journey. However,
Mhm.
I went back and I still wanted to be a writer and a poet in particular.
Mhm.
And he encouraged me to continue the journey and to send him poems. No, I didn't do that. Instead, what I did is I started uh, an event which was called Artistic Expression. And it
Nice.
is that we
Nice.
had these meetings at the Crown Plaza on a
Mhm.
Sunday evening
Mm.
between 4 and 6, where we had poets from all over the world, Caribbean come in.
Mhm.
So I now became a person who poets. I got poets from the university, got poets from overseas,
Yeah.
and I got some tremendous Caribbean poets,
Yeah.
including Walcott, Olive Sr., Lorna Goods. All of these people came to
Nice.
my event.
Nice. Nice.
And in addition, I had musicians. So it was a
Mm.
lovely thing. And we did it
Lovely.
for 3 years
Yeah.
I think it was March to July.
Yeah.
Because, of course, again, I said this is my double life. So I was trying to make the most of it. It was a journey. But
Uh-huh.
at one of these events, I met Professor Edward Ball. And when
Mhm.
I say I met him, I was now in the audience seated, and he was reading one of his poems. The poem was about a red letter, a red pen letter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the most comical thing. I laughed till I cried. I laughed till I cried. And I said, well, if this is poetry, that's what I'm going to do. So that was the beginning of my true desire. I said, yes, this is what I'm going to
I
do.
love that. Really,
And
really
he
love that.
actually, so I just fell in love with his work.
Uh-huh.
And he said to me, well, send me some poems just like Professor Morris. And I did. And he says, I believe you have this talent. And
Nice.
that's a second confirmation. Remember,
Yes, yes, yes,
talent
yes,
came from
yes, yes,
pastor, talent came from,
yes.
and I was encouraged by Professor Morris to continue the work. So I said, okay, there seems to be something going on here. Let me continue. And both Professor Morris and Professor Bob individually mentored me over the years. And that to me is one of the significant things that transform my
Right,
poetry into something
right.
that will last in time.
Nice.
So
I love
that to
that.
me.
I really, really love that. The fact is that, and I was taking a few notes as you were sharing your evolution. And one that stands out for me is your business is not your talent. So there you are thinking you're in a chartered accountant and in all those figures and using all of that. But then your business is not your talent. And then you took some time. I love that. Took some time to reflect on it. Remember, all of this is ideas we're giving to aspiring authors who are thinking about it. So
Yeah,
you took some time, you reflected on it, and what you found was confirmation. So you got your confirmation from the pastor who opened your eyes to this. Then you
yeah.
got the book that you read for what 300 and
A
what
year.
70
It's
odd
55
pages,
pages.
and it lasted maybe it sounds like you did one a day. One
No, no.
one
Well,
page.
let me say something. I said when I got this,
Listen,
I said, why Professor Morris?
leave me alone to get my own. Take away with it one a day. So, guys, if you are thinking of going into the writing thing, one a day is fine. So we'll walk away with that, Dr. Winsome. Don't nothing more. And then other thing that I heard from you was mentors and the fact that you were bold enough to step out and start events. So I think from those events, you were able to learn from those who've been there, done that, big names and all that, big poets, those big names that are out there. And you sat in the audience and you learned, you listened, you got the mentors, you listened to them
Very
and
serious.
all of that. And the confirmation came through. So I want to use that as a backdrop to jump into the next question, which is what was the most significant creative challenge that you faced throughout the career as far as the writing is concerned, and how did you overcome it?
Well, first of all, I would say time, although it's not focused on the creativity, but time to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Right.
Time was very limited for me because I worked 12, 14 hours a day in my regular life. And
Mm-hmm.
when I got home and I'm tired and beat, I decided I'm still going to write. So time was
Mm-hmm.
very important. I would
Mm-hmm.
go home. I probably would, in the later years, take a nod and get up back. But most of the time, I
Mm-hmm.
would just have dinner, shower, and go to my writing desk, which was my dining table at the
Of
time.
course, yes.
And because that's where I was most comfortable because
Right,
I had a
right,
library upstairs and I just sat down at the dining
right,
table and
right,
had 100 books around me,
right.
read and wrote. So the
Mm-hmm.
discipline, creativity for me, I think comes with reading as well. The more
Mm-hmm.
I read, and this was
Mm-hmm.
confirmed when I went to Bennington to do my master's, because they said, read 100 poetry books, write one. But the more
Ah.
I read, the more I was inspired to read and to write. And
Mm-hmm.
it became a discipline, so to speak. I would never go to
Mm-hmm.
bed without reading or writing any night
Mm-hmm.
at all, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So the discipline of immersing yourself in what you love. Well, you see, because it was a love for me, it
It
was my
wasn't, it
passion.
wasn't like
It
work.
did not feel like work. It
Yes.
felt actually like de-stressing myself from the day's challenges.
Right, right,
So
right.
for me, it was love and passion that
Mm,
took me on this journey.
mhm,
And it really just overwhelmed me.
mm,
Yeah, it's over.
right.
and still does. And as I said, doing a PhD, I didn't feel like I was studying. I was just enjoying reading. And in just the last year, that became a little challenging in terms of doing the editing, and then I had some computer problems and so. But it was just a love. So I told persons I'm here and a joy doing what I love.
So what is it? You said you did a PhD, but what was your PhD in?
Well, my thesis topic was how it is that Caribbean writers report exile. So I looked at exile, how it is that persons who are away, how it is that we report exile in our work. And we can be at home and in exile as well, as you know.
Right.
But
Yes. 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 Yes.
yeah. So it is
Right.
important that we recognize that we have been transshipped, our ancestors were transshipped, and our roots, our home is our ancestral home is lost to us. And because of this, we are always searching for home. Well, for me, that is true. I'm never quite comfortable where I am, and I'm always searching. So even this poetic journey, I think, is part of my search to find who I am and who
Right.
where my roots are.
Right.
So, ancestral home is one, and being transshipped now, and we're here, it's another level of discomfort, because we know, as persons say, the Caribbean islands are a bunch of rocks. Professors have said this in the United States. And of course, we object to this, but that's how they see us. So we are always fighting against how it is we are being marginalized in the current state that we're in. And
So I
then we
like
have,
I like what you're saying there. Your passion is what I actually asked you. What is your degree in? And I think it is you
my
poetry, right?
poetry.
So the whole point of me asking you that is for you to get at the fact that your love and the passion that you have, that you went as far as to do your PhD in it so much, and it's
Yes, yes,
something that
yes.
you're enjoying.
Poetry.
And to take it a step further, you started sharing your passion about of the writing, and you went into the ancestral that you ended up researching a lot on. For I will share
Yes.
my experience as well, because the same passion that you had is what I also had for the personal growth and development of others. And I decided to research success strategies of Caribbean American leaders living in the United States. Why
Yeah.
some succeed and why others don't. And I'm seeing a similarity there, because you're bridging the gap to research something that you can use to develop others and to share with
Yes.
others. So what you have done is to essentially share with aspiring authors
Mm-hmm.
and those who maybe want to go into poetry is do what you love. Do what you love, and you'll never work another day in your life. And you
And that's so
mentioned that.
true.
I'll go back to what you mentioned about the time limitations, because
Mm-hmm.
time is never, nobody, we always say we don't have enough time, but you got to make the time, and this is what you do. And you also found your writing space. I've always spoken about that. Find that writing space, that place that you're comfortable, that space that makes you creative and pulls on that, and you share that. Reading as well is another big one that you mentioned. Some people want to just go ahead and write without reading. The more you read is the more you're able to articulate, the more you're able to express yourself. And I didn't study to the PhD level, but uh, I'm just putting in my 2 cents there. And
Yeah.
most important is to walk away with a discipline. Apply that discipline that you need to do what you want to do. The next question is, can you describe a pivotal moment and a piece of advice that transformed your approach to writing? I don't know if it's similar there or to what you had mentioned before. If not, if it is similar, just tell me, and then we can
Well,
move.
there are different. There are different pivotal moments. So I'll give you another one. One was how it is that Professor Mervyn Morris, said to me,
Mm-hmm.
go to go and do a writing course. He suggested that,
Mm-hmm.
and a way writing course, and I did.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
while I was doing that, there was another pivotal moment where it is one of the visiting poets came, and she all her books, I don't have her name, but all her books were based on ekphrasis. So it was ekphrastic poetry that she wrote. So she
Mm-hmm.
looked at a visual image,
Mm-hmm.
and whether it is a painting or a sculpture or what a work of art,
Mm-hmm.
and she interpreted this work of art.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my I was so impressed with the whole, because I'm a lover of art,
Mm-hmm.
visual art, and I
Mm-hmm.
collect a little bit when,
Mm-hmm.
over the
A
years,
little more than a little bit.
a little bit. And I am, always passionate about it. I have a niece who has a gallery now in New York,
Right.
in Manhattan. And
Mm-hmm.
so I believe part of our ancestry is also coming from the artistic world. I think that
Mm-hmm.
our ancestors were maybe trade, not just tradespersons, but skilled craftsmen and artists.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it keeps repeating in the generation. So here it is now. I fell in love with this form of writing poetry. So it
Mm-hmm.
took me, so it's a pivotal moment. So it made me expand how it is I looked at how it is I'm going to engage with poetry. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not that I'm only focused on that, but it is one way of expanding. So you're always, as a poet, looking as to how you grow, how you expand. What I
Mm-hmm.
like in doing my PhD, I was able to look at form. I looked at Norbace Phillips, her poetry, which is,
Mm-hmm.
really earth shaking, and how it is that she deconstructed language. And
Mm-hmm.
that was her way of expanding her poetic realm. So you
Mm-hmm.
have different pathway who also use form as a way of delving into language. So
Mm-hmm.
it is so important that we keep growing. It is part
Mm-hmm.
of our journey. We never
Right.
stop growing. And that,
Right.
so
Right.
some persons would say, well, you're still going to school at this age, after
Ah,
how many, and I
they
said,
would
but
never
I'm
know.
always
They would
learning.
never know.
I'm always learning. Mhm.
Continuous learning, continuous learning. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing those pivotal moments. So how do you continuously improve your writing skills? I know you spoke about the other continuous learning, but how do you improve your writing skills? Or are you now there? Have you arrived?
Definitely not arrived. Definitely not arrived. I am still learning to edit. I'm still learning
Okay,
skills, because as you
okay.
know, I'm coming out of audit and thing, and I'm now
Yes,
learning.
yes, yes, yes.
You never stop editing until you're published. Right now, I have a book that is coming out in June, and
Mm-hmm,
guess what? When
mm-hmm.
I finished, I said, "Oh, I'm finished." But I've been editing January, February, March, because this is what I do. Every sentence, you
Yes.
read it and sometimes you miss it, but there might be
Mm-hmm,
one word that is redundant. You don't
mm-hmm.
need it. There
Right,
might be a
right.
comma out of
Cut, cut,
place.
cut, cut, cut. Right?
So it is
Cutting. You're
about
cutting.
cutting and efficiency.
Yes, yes.
Efficiency. The word Mervyn Morris said to me, look at what you have. Is there something you need to leave out? It's
Mm-hmm,
doing nothing. What works? So, these guys,
mm-hmm,
these professors are very important to me, because I can
mm-hmm.
hear them when I'm finished writing. While
Right.
I'm writing, I hear
Yes,
Professor
yes,
Ball's
yes, yes,
musical tone. I hear Professor
yes.
Morris saying, is that word necessary? Is that
Right,
line necessary? Is it doing any
right,
work?
right,
And if
right.
it's not doing work, you take it out. So
Mm-hmm,
editing is a big thing for me.
mm-hmm,
Efficiency is a big thing for me. And I must say, I am learning to do that even as we speak.
mm-hmm. Okay. Perfectly. So the resources and the practices and experiences that are instrumental in developing your craft are all of those that you just mentioned, the editing, the efficiency, and the voices of the
Yes,
professors that you learned from, were mentored by. Those are the things that
yes.
kept going in your mind.
That
I,
resonates with me all the time.
nice. I wanted to ask you a question though. And the question is, I'm aware that you've won some awards. Can you share a few of them, one, two, or a few? And which one is most outstanding to you and why?
Well, I started with some, I won one or two awards from the Jamaican Book Publishers Association. That was an early winning that made me say, oh, maybe there's something here. And then small acts, I came first in one of the competitions. I think they're associated with Duke University Press.
Okay.
And this is just from memory. And I also, since I'm here in the UK, I was shortlisted for the Bridport Prize, which is a £10,000 prize. So
Right.
that was significant. And in the
Right.
same year, I was longlisted for the overall Bocas Prize
Mm.
and
Oh,
shortlisted for the Poetry Prize. So
okay.
I believe that those are some of the, there are other things, but those are
Right.
some of the more significant things that
Right.
I have.
So
And that
that's
is, each one is an encouragement. Each one makes holds, yeah, is an
woohoo.
encouragement. Yes, you're doing the right thing.
Right, right, right. I like that. I love, 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 love that. Because when you're writing and you get the recognition, external recognition, it also cements your internal passion to move forward and to continue your quest. And I think it also is an example to others who are looking on. And maybe I'll just ask you to dig a little bit deeper into that same thing. Did you have to apply for it? And what did you do in order to win these awards? Again, this is now not for aspiring authors, for authors in general, because I know what I term write and run. So authors write their books, publish
Mhm.
it, and they go on to another thing. But this is something that I want to encourage writers and authors to do. Once you publish that book, what is the next step? So share with us about how you got these
Well,
awards. What were the steps you took?
in the early days, I think that I applied for, like, I think the small acts I had to apply, if my
Mhm.
memory, that's so long ago. But once you're published now, your publisher decides what they enter you in, like for Bocas. So I
Okay.
no longer do the application for some things. They will
Right.
put your book up
Mm-hmm.
for the major prizes. The
Mm-hmm.
Bridport Prize, which I applied for, I was while I was in the UK. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
applied for that one. That's an
Mm-hmm.
international one. And they say it's over 5,000 persons entered in that year to be shortlisted. You're really making a difference, something
Mm-hmm.
stood out. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So you look around, go into journals. They have journals,
Mm-hmm.
writers and poets,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a lot of competitions. So you choose one that fits your poetry. You have to
Right.
read again because different journals publish different types of poetry. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to read, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to get those journals that you are, like, suppose you're a nature poet. There are some
Mm-hmm.
journals and magazines that feature nature poets, the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
environment.
Mm-hmm.
There are some magazines that only feature the environment. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
know what poetry you are
Mm-hmm.
writing, and
Mm-hmm.
so you don't apply just willy-nilly. You have to
Mm-hmm.
look and shape your applications to meet the objective of that
Right.
journal or,
Right.
or,
Right.
or um,
That-
magazine.
That's good. Very, very good ideas. As I said, my thing is about write and run. And if people can stop and then push forward, because that is where I was chatting with at an event with Nova Southeastern University where they asked me to speak on writing. And one of the persons asked a question about what some people are not basically discovered. So and they're not discovered, they're published, but they're not discovered and they can't. And it may be rich material, but if you don't take it to the next level, then you're gonna. So if you're traditionally published, then you mention that they will also look around for opportunities for you. But if you're self-published, as this self-publishing is also rising, it means that you have to do the work yourself. You have to go out there and look. You shared some
Yeah.
journals.
And
That's
and
go ahead.
mhm, mhm. And one other thing, you can actually create events.
Ah, like what you
Create
did.
events like what
Yes,
I did
yes,
in
yes.
Jamaica many years ago.
Right,
And
right,
you could be one of the poets or writers that's presented. So
right,
you get in the eyes, because that's how I became aware of the poets at the University of the West Indies,
yeah,
and God would have it that
yes,
I found two excellent mentors.
yes, right,
So
right,
you have to put
right,
yourself in that
right,
space
right,
sometimes
right.
to
Yes, yes,
to be seen. And
right,
if you are blessed with that talent, then somewhere along the line it will come to the fore, I think.
right,
So,
right,
and it
right.
is also the discipline, because some you have talent and you don't work on it,
Yes,
you go
yes. It's
nowhere.
not gonna grow. It's
Yeah.
not gonna
So
grow.
it
It's gonna
is,
just stay
you have
there.
to work. Nothing is not just, oh, I have a talent and I can write. Nothing
Right,
at all. Yeah. You
right. You
have to
gotta
work.
work it. Gotta work
Yeah.
it. And we the Ralph Holmes coins and had an event, an open mic event recently where we had poets invited the members of our writers group to come together and to share poetry. And it was an
Yeah.
amazing evening.
Great.
It was an amazing evening. So it's events like those just focus on poetry. And it is not only poetry. If they were writing a piece and they wanted feedback, then they would read it aloud so others can say, okay, I like that. Or
Mm.
maybe, quietly say, okay, here is where you could change this or
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. But we had an amazing evening. So thank you for sharing events as well. The last thing I want to ask you is how do you balance the artistic integrity of your writing, meaning the commercial aspect with the realities of the publishing industry? I'm not sure if you follow that
Well, I'm
question.
one of those writers that don't pay much attention to the commercial side of it as yet. But because, as I say, it came about because of my passion rather than,
Right,
trying
right,
to
right,
earn. It was never initially about earning and
right,
the commercialization of it. It was first about
right,
the love. And I
right.
think when you love something, it will eventually pay
Bring money.
forwards. So that's my journey always in
Yeah,
business as
yeah.
well. If I love what I'm doing, I'm gonna just want to do it and do it the best that I can. And I
Okay,
think God always blesses us when we
right.
put in our 100%. So I
That's
think
right.
that that's how I rationalize it. Not to say it's not important, but I think it works hand in hand.
Mm-hmm,
And if you focus on the writing first and become
mm-hmm,
excellent,
mm-hmm.
other side is gonna,
It's gonna come. It's
and
gonna pay.
yeah,
It's gonna come.
it's gonna come,
It's
it's gonna
gonna come. It's
full
gonna come. And
full circle,
I
and
love
I'm sure of that.
I love to talk about Usain Bolt. Most times I'm interviewing anyone, I always end up talking about Usain Bolt
Mm.
because he enjoyed himself. He
Exactly.
enjoyed himself
The
thoroughly.
love of
Yes,
it.
it's the love and that passion that he
And
had.
that's what I think I have, what has brought me here
Right,
so far.
right,
And as I say,
right,
I've not done it yet. I'm on my journey. I'm still on my journey. And what is important is that I love it. I
right,
really
right.
enjoy what I'm
Right,
doing.
right, right. So the thing about it is the humility with which you're saying it. Not many of us as authors have put forward our books into anything for a competition and to get that external recognition. But yeah, here you are saying, I'm not arrived yet. I know, I understand that.
But
But
it's
you're
true.
much
I
better
really
leaps
feel
and
that
bounds.
I just feel that there's so much further that I
There's a
can
lot more.
go.
And that's where the continuous learning and the continuous growth and
Mhm.
development comes into play. And we are to emulate things like that from persons like yourself. But as we wind down now, what's next for you? You
Well,
talk about the
as I
book.
said, while I was doing my PhD, I actually have had two drafts in terms of two new collections.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Um, and I am excited about them, of
That's
course.
awesome.
And I believe that,
How you plan to do them? How you plan to? Tell me. What you plan, what your marketing plan, where you
well,
are.
the marketing plan is as soon as the books are out, well, June, July, I think, I'm gonna be doing a tour, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to do 3 stops in the US and 2 stops or 3 stops in the UK and 2 in the Caribbean. So
Right.
I'm gonna do a book tour for the next one.
Yeah.
And as I said, the other one is right behind, so I hope I can find. But also, I'd love to have a book published in the US. So I'm actually also exploring because like 2 different markets. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually
Yes,
exploring,
yes, yes.
that possibility as well. I love my publisher and they do good by me, and I'm really
Mm-hmm,
thankful for
mm-hmm,
People Tree Press.
mm-hmm,
So I am not one to hop around normally, but
mm-hmm,
I believe that the US is a totally huge
mm-hmm,
untapped market,
mm-hmm,
and that is something I'd like to explore a little.
mm-hmm,
And I just think that I'm gonna keep writing,
mm-hmm.
but also I might write a novel. So
Nice.
yes,
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes,
looking at also exploring other forms, So
yes, yes, yes.
and it is now something that I see Caribbean writers. I think Kai Miller did it.
Mm-hmm,
Jason Allen Pazant has done that. So they
mm-hmm,
transition from
mm-hmm,
poetry
mm-hmm.
to into
I
so
like that.
yeah.
So you
So
are,
it
go
is
ahead.
if you're a writer, you're a writer. You can be a poet and you can be
Of
other.
course, the imagination is there.
Yes, yes. So
Creativity is
and
there.
I believe that also is where I would like to be. I started 2 other writings, but I've not got anywhere with them. But I believe that's where I'm headed as well. But
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm,
poetry will always come because the poetry is like what
mm-hmm.
calls me first.
Yes, 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 yes.
What I would want to do is probably I'll go to a writing seminar if I'm really gonna take on writing a novel and spend some time
Right,
actually
right,
learning that
right,
discipline, but it's totally different
right. It
and
is, it
getting
is, it
it
is,
out.
it is.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a lot of examples out there from Caribbean people.
Mm-hmm,
Safia Sinclair also,
mm-hmm.
so we have a lot of good examples.
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
I
yes.
think that what we have to do is look at the persons who have come before us
Mm-hmm,
and use them as role models.
mm-hmm.
And I think we won't go wrong.
Right. So, thank you so much for chatting with me, and it has really been a pleasure. What I know that you spoke a little bit about delving into the US a bit, though you've always been here in the US and all of that, and you've traveled and you're living in the UK and all that kind of jazz. So it's like what we call a world traveler. As you're a world traveler, and as you, what do you call it now? Cement your craft, right? It's
Yeah.
cementing
But
that.
it becomes right, it impacts wherever you travel and wherever you live,
Exactly.
enters your writing. Because
Yeah.
in Zion Roses, the second one, you'll see
Mm-hmm.
I wrote about Venice and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Rome and places I have been.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
whether you like it or not, it's your life experiences that
Yeah. It's
it
a
may
pity I
not.
don't have a short one that you could share with us. It's a pity.
Hmm,
It's a
Shelly,
pity.
you should prepare me for this.
No, but I wasn't thinking of you looking at, your share, you're talking about it, and then for me, what it has done is you're opening my mind, and the travels and that writing, and it would show our listeners um
Yes, well, let me look and see if I can find one
a
that
snippet.
was short enough.
Yeah, just a
Okay,
snippet would
I
be fine.
think I will. This one is about the English skies. Set sail, and this one was for VS Naipaul.
Uh-huh.
I looked up to grey English skies and felt absent. No poetry, no poinciana, no river of golden dust. I am in the land of my captors, those who took my tongue and gave me English. I find myself musing in unknown tongues, not
Mm,
sure of my utterances,
mhm,
but it feel right.
mm,
I pick up a book if by longing for home. V.S.'s Nightfall, the middle passage. He talked about fools who rejected federation, yam and breadfruit niggers on deck. What am I guilty of? Say they're running from cutgens and boiled down, sailing from equal to equal respect. They're bigger fools than even I. But I too am tired of failure masked by Calypso's virtues and indifference, by the absence of history and the pitching of tents like we occupying campsites. I am walking down Oxford Street and I think of my friend Mushe. He never left Trinidad. The last thing I heard, he had a tumor growing in his guts, inoperable. He was the true carnival loving Trini, never missed an opportunity to party. But here I am, finding fault with everything. Now wondering if I made the right decision to come here where the sky is always gray. I yes.
That was good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really appreciate it. And where can they find you if they want to connect with you or find your work?
Well, my work is available most booksellers in the US, in Jamaica, in the UK, but People Tree is a publisher. They also are booksellers. I am on Facebook, but
Right, social media.
I'm not a right. I'm not a social media fan. I just you can pass on. So that's not a good way to contact me. But for your writers, they can always get my email if somebody would like to interact with me. I have no objections through you, Shelly.
Right.
And I will respond if there is anybody who would like to ask questions or follow up on anything we had to say today. I'm always willing to encourage persons who are starting their journey, because that's how I am where I am today, because I got the solid encouragement from really two fantastic human beings.
Right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And again, I'm Dr. Shelly Cameron, and I love to speak with successful authors, successful persons like yourself. That's what my research was on, success strategies, just to make sure that those who really need to move to the next level and level up can do it. And this is the way that you do it. So thank you again, Dr. Minott, and it has really been a pleasure.
And thank you too, Shelly. It was wonderful connecting with you because we go back so far. So this is at a different time and a different place. And it's wonderful as sisters in the Lord that we love what we do.
Right. Thank you.